I think if we said it.
Hello everybody, thank you all for coming
And then barricade it.
to the annual Southwest Seattle Historical Society picnic. And we're about to begin our program, but feel free to get more. Again, thank the West Seattle Community Orchestras Brass Sextet for performing again this year. It's a wonderful tradition. And I asked Tony to start it off with our next piece of the program. And please feel free to sing along with this. It's mandatory, so please sing. Thank you.
Looks like it's on.
I can't take anybody for ice cream until they finish their chicken.
No, I think that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Can we get another round of applause for the Community Brass Sextet? Thank you so much. So I want to thank everybody. My name is Peder Nelson. I am the Vice President of the Southwest Seattle Historical Society. And I want to thank everyone for coming and contributing food. to this potluck. It's been a great tradition to host everybody here at the Log House, celebrate the 4th of July together. I also want to thank Carrie Korsgaard, our board member, for putting this all together herself. And then, of course, Marcy Johnsen for bringing the chicken.
I guess so.
Now, of course, we have volunteers, members, and all here, but I also wanted to point out that we have many of our board members here. This is a board member kind of put on a program every year. We wanted, as you know, a thank you for everybody and something to celebrate. So if possible, could I have all of our board members who are here please stand up and wave your hand? Yep, we got Ron back there, we got Karen, Sandy, Barbara, Carrie, we got Marcy,
Jenny.
We've got Jenny.
And you.
Oh, and me, yeah, I'm waving my hand as well. And also we'd like to also ask if we have any of our advisory council members here to wave their hands. There we go. Oh, thank you very much.
Jordan in the back.
And Jordan in the back. Wonderful that we have an advisory council. It's just a wonderful group of people to help support the organization. And so I'd like to, so I'm taking the place of Clay Eels today. Clay has been told to rest, something that we've been trying to tell him for years. But we finally got a doctor's note, so that was good. But yeah, he would have loved to be here today, of course, celebrating with us. And so he's encouraged me to encourage you to purchase raffle tickets and memberships. We have membership forms up here if you're not already members. And I also want to remind people of some events that we have coming up, and that is including the West Seattle Summerfest, where we are going to have our booth. And this year, we are celebrating the landmarking of 2 buildings in the Junction area, the Ham and Campbell building. And so this year's booth is going to be all about celebrating landmarks and the community who helps support us landmarking these buildings and the support of the history of the area. So it's really a big thank you to our community, you, our volunteers, our members, for being able to continue to fulfill that part of our mission of preservation in the community. And then following that, we have the Alki Art Fair, which is July 22nd and 23rd. And we encourage volunteers to sign up and kind of stand at our stands there and talk to the community as they come by and tell about kind of what programs we're doing, what projects you help with, what kind of things. Tell them about these kind of events, the 4th of July celebration here at our log house. And then we have another event coming up, and I'd like to ask Marcy to come up to tell you about it.
Marcy's going to go up.
And that's going to be July 9th, and that is our Courtyard Garden Tea.
How's that? Hi, everybody. Hi. Does anybody here like tea? Do you know what I mean when I say high tea? Yeah. Hands? Okay. We've had some high teas in the past, and we've held them at the Villa Heidelberg with Judy Burbrink. Anybody been to one of those teas 10 years ago, maybe? Ooh, one person, that's good. Well, we've been encouraged for some time to do another tea, and we are holding this tea right here in the Courtyard Garden Tea, amongst our beautiful native plants and next to our lovely museum. It's July 9th, so it's just next Sunday, and we have one seating at 1:30. If you'd like to come, we'd love to have you come enjoy some sweets and savories, and of course high tea, a special blend from the Phoenix Tea Company in Burien. And if you don't have a ticket now, you could get one today. Reserve your spot. Tickets are $40 a piece, and of course all the proceeds will benefit our Southwest Seattle Historical Society. So if you have any questions, you can seek me out, and I'll answer any questions I can.
And this is a that she's baking
Oh yes, everything is homemade. Scones from Joey Richardson, and there are a number of recipes from our cookbook, Apron Strings. So, and actually, Joey's cousin Laurel today brought a salad that's somewhere up here. It's a dessert salad. You know, they call it salad, but it's really dessert. Eat dessert first. So it's actually also from the cookbook, Apron Strings. So we're celebrating lots of things. So I hope you can come.
And wear a pretty hat.
Oh, and wear a pretty hat, Florabelle says. Yeah. Well, it's not mandatory, but it makes it for a more festive day, that's for sure. Thank you. Absolutely. Anyone can come. Absolutely. Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you, Marcy.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Marcy. Well, now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to somebody. You have probably all seen the news this past weekend that we have a new executive director for the Southwest Seattle Historical Society and Log House Museum. And the board is very excited, and here he is, Jeff McCord. He's right on point. He's ready to go, and we're really excited about this opportunity. He's going to be our second executive director, and he's got some big shoes to fill, of course, with Clay. But definitely, we're supporting the idea of resting right off the bat, early on. But we have a lot of really exciting things happening, and I just wanted to give Jeff a moment to speak with y'all.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jeff McCord, and thank you all so much for being so welcoming. I found that from Clay to the board to the staff to the volunteers, every day that I've been starting to get to know the organization even better, I have really enjoyed getting to meet all these people that are putting in their energy and time, and it really shows in the way the organization has really developed and grown. And I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a background of kind of how I came to this and what my hopes are to fill those shoes. One of the things to start out, and I want to thank Peder for becoming the MC today. For those of you who know Clay, even though he's not here, he in many ways is kind of providing us with the structure to actually host this, and so he has a lot to do with giving us some good tools to be able to run the speaking portion of this very well, and so I know that has helped Peder and me. I also want to thank the board for their including me in the process to find a new executive director, and I've really enjoyed getting to know the board and seeing how involved they are in the organization. It's something that I've not seen in a nonprofit organization with this much board involvement. One of the things that's really struck me is that every time I come here over the last several days, there are usually at least 1 or 2 volunteers here. There's often 1 or 2 board members here that are actually doing work, painting benches, doing fixing up things that. Well, exactly, but the volunteers are putting in those efforts too, and I've felt so welcomed when I get to meet those people that are putting in their own time and energy, and that really does speak volumes for how the organization will continue to grow and have an impact on our region. I'll give you a little background on myself. Going back to my very earliest years, I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and I actually wanted to be an architect when I was growing up. I had an interest in buildings, and ultimately came to learn many years later that I also had an interest in preserving history. I grew up in an old house in Lexington on an old avenue with big trees, and it was only 2 blocks from the home of Henry Clay, who was a great statesman in our country's history. And I remember playing there and seeing the house and the grounds and how well cared for they were. And even as a little kid, I think I knew there was something special there about that history being preserved. and I carried that with me. I found out very recently, and this shows the depth of knowledge that Clay has, that he told me that he is actually named after Henry Clay. I don't think you'll mind my saying that his full name is Henry Clay Eels, I think the third, I'm not sure, but when I mentioned Henry Clay and said that in my quote, he said, well, people who know my full name might be confused by the Henry Clay's home. So it was kind of an interesting moment. Shows how steeped in history Clay is. I also have always been drawn to learning about our shared cultural histories. And that's something that I think is really unique about this organization, because unlike some historic preservation organizations that really concentrate on just the built environment, I see that there's a lot of facets to what we do here, and I feel like that is something that is very well accentuated by the collections and by the exhibits, and by Lissa's great work with what she has been doing with the museum, and I think that that's something that we can also celebrate and continue to grow. Myself, I have done many things in my life, and hopefully I can bring some of these skills to the job. I've been a graphic artist, I've been a Photoshop illustrator, I've been a game designer. I have a couple of games that are published on the iPhone and iPad. I have gone to NYU Film School, and I've been involved in film and video. And I've also been a volunteer. I have been on several boards and various volunteer organizations, particularly in West Seattle. At one point I was on the Southwest Design Review Board, and I had a really wonderful opportunity to work with colleagues to help improve the built environment in West Seattle. And then more recently, I have also been very involved in nonprofits, and I've realized pretty importantly that it fits me much better than the commercial world, much better than other aspects of kind of our potential careers that we could choose, even though I've done many of those other things. So I have been the executive director at a theater in Renton called Carco Theater, as well as a community access cable channel called Puget Sound Access. And so once I fell into being directly involved in helping a nonprofit organization, in that case, it was also helping to kind of revitalize and turn it around. I really embraced it wholeheartedly, and I'm a person that believes that if there's something that I know enough to know what I don't know, and so one of the things I pursued was I got into the Evans School of Governance and it's a long name, and I'm nervous, so I'm forgetting the whole thing, and public policy. So I'm halfway through that program, and I'm learning all these wonderful tools, which I can also apply to this nonprofit as well. So I'm really excited about that. Back to Clay. I know that he and I are going to share what we've already established, which is a really good transitional relationship, as well as an ongoing support relationship. One of the things, Clay is definitely not going to go away. He is going to take a much deserved shift in his life and concentrate on things that he has had to kind of put second priority from the hard work that he's done with this organization. But he definitely, I can guarantee you, won't be able to entirely stay out of it. And I think you board members know that that's likely to be the case. So he and I are going to overlap by the month of July. So I'll be having a really good opportunity to get to know his institutional knowledge. I would say that both Clay and the board have really built the building blocks on which I can hopefully help bring it to a new stage. And without those building blocks, it would be really difficult for me to come in and really get a handle on what are the best aspects that I should be concentrating on for the organization. In terms of ways that I feel like are what interests me, and I know from what I've heard from staff and board members also are a big focus. I feel like continuing to preserve our historical buildings and our built history, but also, as I mentioned before, our cultural history. I think that involving our future generations as preservationists, cultural anthropologists, and historians is something that will really help with kind of our next generation of people that continue to support this organization. Also reaching out to a younger adult audience that will, that maybe at this point is too busy in their own lives to pay attention to the built environment and to where we live in West Seattle, and finding ways to connect people to volunteerism and support and supporting these great causes. Also, re-engaging our current and our past supporters, I think is going to be a really important thing, because a lot of times it's just a matter of reaching out and saying, yes, we're still here, we're still relevant, and finding ways to make it also relevant in the supporters' lives is going to be really important. What do we do programmatically? What do we do in terms of giving to the community that also is going to be worthy of their support? And then hopefully I'll be able to have some creative ideas of my own that I can help suggest to the board and bring to pass as we move forward. I really am looking forward to working with the staff, and I've already spent some time, especially with Lissa, and getting to know Hannah initially, but I know we'll spend more time together, as well as getting to know the volunteers. I know it's going to take a lot for me to remember all the names, so please volunteer your names, even if you've told me before. I really want to get to know all of you here as well, so when we move forward in the program, I hope to circulate more and say hi and find out what your involvement with the organization is. Thank you all so much for welcoming me, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Well, I wanted to again thank our West Seattle Community Orchestras Brass Sextet for coming down with the wonderful live music. It definitely is what brings our picnic together, having this really great band up here on our porch. And this is the second year that we've had the Brass Sextet up. And I really hope that this is a tradition that we can continue to go with. But I wanted to recognize Tony Rennick for providing. Right here, Tony's up here. Yeah, enjoying the food. And we just wanted to have Mariane come up. Mariane? Yep, good. Come up. Give a little talk about.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a wonderful audience and for inviting us here today. The ensemble that we've had here today is just a very small part of our whole organization. You probably noticed our very prominently displayed sign up here. We are a group of orchestras. We have 3 full orchestras, ranging from a group with experience in the 2 to 3 years of playing up to a full symphony orchestra where most of us are adults that have played for many, many years. Anyway, we have a great time together, and we meet on Tuesday nights at Chief South High School to rehearse. And we also have a wind symphony, which is concert band. And for those of you who said, well, I've never played an instrument, I can't be part of this, we have beginners classes for adults. So if you ever have that desire to bring out the violin again and tune it up and play, or a wind instrument, flute, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, even percussion, we have adult beginner classes for that as well. So Tuesday nights, our website is very prominently displayed. We would love to see you there. We also present concerts in the community several times a year, mostly December and May, but sometimes in March. We also do a side-by-side concert with the Seattle Symphony Orchestra, which I think is scheduled for October this year. And we would love to see you there. So thank you so much for your time and for your gracious audience participation today.
remind people about the need for kids.
Oh yeah, I didn't say that. It's not just adults, it's mixed age. Students and adults. The sign says 8 to 88, and that's about accurate for right now. We have about 270 people involved overall, so it's not a small group. But we would love to have students. Students always participate for free. So their cost is not an issue. We would love to have students come in at any level and play with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. Well, now it's going to be a very special part of this program. We wanted to take this time to have a remembrance for one of a very, very impactful person in our community who just passed, and that is Merrilee Hagen. We wouldn't be gathering here at this museum very much if it wasn't for her work with us. We are about to celebrate this November our 20th anniversary of this being our museum. And I just wanted to there was a speech that Merrilee gave that I think would be really great to hear when this came about. So I'd like to have Jeff come up and read from that speech that Merrilee gave. Jeff?
So I don't know if I can get through this without crying myself. I don't know Merrilee personally, but I certainly know her by reputation. And I can tell from reading her words how much of an impact she has had on where we are today. So I'm reading the majority of this speech. It's relatively short, but I think that it speaks volumes for what it takes in terms of kind of human energy to preserve something as beautiful as this and to really ensure the future of an organization as important as this one is. So these are the words of Merrilee Hagen from 1993, at the time that this building was probably had its biggest opportunity but was in most jeopardy if things didn't go the right way. I've lived in West Seattle for 45 years. I grew up on Alki. I reside on Alki now. I've been a real estate agent and broker in this area for 16 years. I grew up surrounded by the history of the area. I lived near the 3-story log home at 59th and Andover, originally a large family summer home, later boarding house, and now occupied by a single family. I played sandlot ball at the field across the street, site of the original Alki one-room schoolhouse, soon to be filled with a proposed scatter site low-income housing. I played with a friend at the log house on the corner of 62nd and Stevens, bulldozed. I visited and played at the original Ferdinand Schmidt home, bulldozed in 1967. I walked home past the log house at 61st and Spokane, bulldozed. I remembered the little rock house near Alki Point, featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not in the 1930s, bulldozed. I attended school functions at the old Alki Field House, bulldozed. I saw the old natatorium at Alki, bulldozed in 1953. In my lifetime, I've seen a lot of our community's heritage disappear in the name of progress. We can't stop progress, nor should we try, because our community needs to survive, but we also need to preserve our history. West Seattle has something unique to our city. We are acknowledged as the birthplace of Seattle. I remember participating in the centennial celebration of the Pioneer Landing at Alki in 1951. I was a third grader at Alki Elementary School. One of my drawings with a story about the pioneers was included in the items in a time capsule buried north of the Birthplace of Seattle monument that day. At the time, I didn't realize who the speaker General Douglas MacArthur was, but I remember all the pomp and crowds and how proud everyone was of our place in Seattle's history. There are now as few as half a dozen of the original log cabins left in West Seattle area. Some have been modernized beyond recognition as log homes. If we don't make an effort to save at least one, in 10 or 20 years, they will all be gone, and we will be left with only a memory of what was there before the bulldozers came to make room for another apartment house or condominium complex. This log house was originally the carriage house and maid's quarters for the owners of the log house used as the original Seattle Auto Club in 1907, which is now the Alki Homestead Restaurant, which it was at the time. The carriage house is nearly in original condition inside and out, with the exception of necessary changes such as indoor plumbing and cooking facilities. Use of this site as a museum not only will preserve part of our area's history, it will also give our school children, residents, and visitors access to old photographs and artifacts, collections currently stored by the Historical Society at the Museum of History and Industry. We are asking your support of this project to preserve and display our community's history while we have the chance. Everybody knows what happened as a result of all the efforts that went into saving this house and what came about after that, and she had a lot to do with that. So, thank you.
Well, I'd like to recognize today Merrilee Hagen is here, Marilee's daughter. And I would like to have Melissa say a few words, if you will.
I'm actually Melissa Cooper, but I'm Melissa Hagen Cooper. So it's okay. I don't know what you want me to say. So, after Mom died, I got a bunch of sympathy cards, which were lovely. And they had these phrases that people said about my mother that were a beacon of light and a shining example and a beacon of the community. And I read these cards, and my husband read these cards, and my father read these cards, and we're all going, who is this person? This is not my mother! Because the person that you know is not the person we knew, because she's Mom, right? But the thing is, she did the same thing for us that she did here. She built community. And that was the most important thing. Here, she helped build this museum to help preserve the community. In our lives, she built the community. She took in people. She collected people throughout her life. Sigrid Wilson, how long did you know my mother?
Over 50 years.
Jane, how long?
I think about 50 also.
Yeah? Okay. I don't know how Sigrid knows my mother, is how long they've known each other. They've known each other longer than I've been alive, okay? So, and these people are family, is how long they've known each other. When going through my mother's papers, I found address book. Okay, cool. Papers, address book. Okay. Papers, address book. Okay. I ended up with a stack of like 5 address books. And then it's a matter of going through and which one's the most current. Okay. So this person died in 80. All right. So let's look at the next one then. And then she did this all her life. She collected these people. All my life, I remember there being other people living in our houses, wherever we lived. We had cousins living with us. We had uncles living with us. We had aunts, people who were in school. We had a neighbor boy whose mother was having horrible postpartum depression. Mom took him in and was taking care of him so the father could go to work and the mom could get help. And we took care of him for like a year before the mom was healthy enough to come home. And until the day she died, she knew how the little boy was, and that was 40 years ago. All of her life, she collected people. She kept up with them. And after she passed, I spent the longest week of my life calling, I swear, half the people in her phone book. And it was like, everybody I called, Jane, Sigrid, it was, but I just talked to her yesterday. Yes, I know this. She just talked to everybody yesterday. So, the fact that this museum is living on is incredibly important because it shows that the community that she helped build, is important and is going to continue. So, I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Melissa. Marcy, would you want to say?
Yeah, and I'm sure other people would want to too.
Others?
I don't know if we can pass the mic around or
Yeah, we're kind of connected here. We can see what can happen.
we see how far it'll go. It's really loud.
Oh no, just talk.
Oh, I should talk loud?
Well, everybody.
No?
Oh, go ahead.
Hello. Well,
Here.
that's hard. Yeah, I get it. Okay. So, yes, Merrilee, I met Merrilee in about 1994 when, now I grew up in West Seattle. I grew up on Alki. But I grew away, I went away after high school. I left. But the person who grew up across the street from me, and yes, I grew up in this house. So when we were little kids, we said, this is such a fun place, it should be a museum someday. Because we knew it was special, it looks just like the homestead. When we were younger, we didn't know the exact connection, but we knew it. So a friend was working for an attorney who was volunteering on this project, who knew Merrilee, who knew Arlene Wade, who knew Carol Vincent, and Clay Eels, and all the early people who brought this project to fruition. And she said, oh my God, you're never going to guess the house is really going to become a museum. You have to get involved. So we learned through a few other people that they were having a dedication, and I believe that was 1996, right before the restoration began. There was a blessing with the Duwamish tribal member, James Rasmussen, came and did a blessing. Children from Alki Elementary came up and did a reenactment. So it was a big deal. And I didn't know at the time really how much it took to get to that point, but it took literally thousands of hours, all volunteer, right? And Merrilee was actually the person who was instrumental in buying this piece of property as a realtor. She got a call from the owner, Gary, who said, I want to sell and I don't want to see it bulldozed. He wanted to retire. He'd had it for 16 years. Well, once it had been converted to a house in 1907, lots of different families lived here. My folks bought it in 1959. My mother fell in love with this. It was unique. There was another house down the street on 62nd that Merrilee referred to. It had the logs going up and down instead of horizontal. And it succumbed to termites, unfortunately, and was bulldozed. But Seaview Hall, the homestead, and this building remained, and Merrilee had a lot to do with that. So when I met her and told her my story, I guess I'm part of her collection. But she's also part of my people collection too, so she was a wonderful person, and thank goodness for her and her connections to the community, because here we are, 20 years later. We're about to celebrate the 20th anniversary on November 13th this fall. And Melissa, thank you for being there with your mom. I know you did a lot of volunteer work too. We've had a lot of events that your mother helped with, auctions, home tours. She was actually the inspiration for the garden tea. She kept bugging Carol Vincent. Let's have a tea. Let's have a tea. We'll have a tea. And so we're having it on Sunday. right? Yeah. So we'll be thinking about your mom on that day too. Also, our Apron Strings cookbook. She was also the one. You know, it would be a good deal to do a cookbook, and your mom has several recipes in that cookbook, so we're pleased about that. Yep, mine too. So, whoever's next, who else would like to say a few words? Hi.
Well, when Melissa mentioned about followers, that's what she did. She did collect people. And so she came up to the senior center where I've worked for 37 years, but one of the gals who has been a member here, Kay Francisco, was a mutual friend, a very dear friend of hers. And so through Kay and Merrilee, I got to know them really well. And towards the end, let's see, when did Merrilee die? Just this past year? So that Kay preceded her. And just a few weeks before that, your mother and I were both going up to see Kay. And so let me share that because she was just so very caring and wonderful person to do. And she didn't tell me she was so ill until towards I think our last trip there and everything. But anyway, this is why I remember, and I'm glad for having this little recognition of her. You want some of that? Oh, there we go. Yes.
Hi. I had the pleasure of meeting Merrilee when we were both on the board when we bought this. And we had been sort of kind of discussing it, but money was obviously a big issue. We discovered, I think Merrilee was the one that discovered, that Metro was providing mitigation funds to help offset the effect on the community that some of their projects were going to have. And we had to compete for that money. And Merrilee led the charge, and we got the money. And so she, in many, many ways, is completely responsible for this whole project. And plus, I always consider her a good friend. She handled a number of real estate transactions for my family. And she was also, she had such a wonderful, dry sense of humor. And just, I'll always remember her very fondly, and obviously every time I drive by here. So, Melissa, thank you for sharing your bond with us. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ma'am, can you tell us your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Karen Dobbs. My family has lived in West Seattle since the First World War. My great-grandparents had a restaurant at Luna Park. And I'm also the president of the West Seattle High School Alumni Association, which I also had the pleasure of crossing paths with Merrilee there too. So,
Hey.
thank you.
Anybody else like to say some words? Oh, sure.
I noticed there weren't many men who jumped up here, and that's very fitting for me to jump up because I remember when Merrilee called me up and said, Jordan, I need a little help getting a real estate deal put together for the Historic Society. And I said, well, I don't know much about history. I was relatively young at the time. Only 30 years ago, Melissa, so it's not quite as long as Sigrid or them. And there were a group of women there, and I met with them, and I was going, so what can I do? And at the time, what they were having problems with was the easement for the parking with Doris. Doris Nelson needed to do that, and she goes, Jordan, we need you to close the deal. She keeps saying she'll give us the easement for the parking for the place, and we need it. The city won't give us the funds necessary to buy it if we don't have a parking easement. I said, well, you're the real estate person. Why don't you cut a deal with her and do it? She goes, he's a little different character. I need you to kind of do it. You still drink, don't you, Jordan? I said, yeah, I still drink. All right, have a meeting with her. Okay, so I made sure I made the meeting at 11. And I went and met with Doris, and she goes, would you like a martini? I looked at my watch, and she had her martini. I said, this is what Merrilee meant. I had to help out, cut the deal. And Doris also smoked at the time. I think she was 80-something. She was about 86, and this, I was still relatively young. And so a couple martinis and a few cigarettes later, he had the easement. and Merrilee thanked me. And she realized from then on she could kind of call me when there was maybe problems. There was some interesting fundraising issues with one of the past presidents that I won't talk about, but Jordan, you got to talk to her. All right. So Merrilee, she helped me quite a bit in my business. I knew her from her real estate days with Sunset Realty back in the mid-'80s. With Karis Maligan and Marianne Vandegrift, Dave Paxton, John Thompson, all that old gang. And there was nothing better, actually I feel bad about this, than she'd go from, occasionally she'd migrate to a different company. And I always kind of liked that because then I'd have a new set of clients because Merrilee was probably my best promoter. So it was very nice to have her, and she did a heck of a lot more for me than I ever did for her. Thank you, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, great.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you all for your thoughts and those stories. That's just wonderful, and I'm so happy that we have the Log House that really stand for Merrilee and the community that put it together, and really be happy to be part of this community. Well, now I'd like to get to that point you've all been waiting for, and that is the raffle. You still can buy a ticket for this raffle if you'd like to.
There's a purchaser
Sandy,
right here.
we have a purchaser right over here, Sandy. We are raffling off 2 tickets to our annual gala at Salty's, the biggest event of the year for our community. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's two tickets. And so the raffle tickets are $5 a piece. You can buy 5 for $20. And we are just about to draw as soon as we get the final raffles in.
Oh, there's a couple other people.
All right.
Look at the back. I'll get you a ticket, and it only takes one.
So
ticket
Sandy's
to
on
win.
her. So Sandy's coming around. She's got the tickets.
Nice.
What day is the gala this year?
First Saturday of November.
Yeah, so it's the first Saturday of November at Salty's, as we do. I don't know what the date is.
I think it's the 4th, but I'll double check. It is November 4th.
Yep, so November 4th this year. Yeah. Right, Sandy's making her way. We got a whole basket of raffle tickets here.
Meanwhile, people are
Yeah, and actually, and as we're moving forward with this, please grab some more food. We have plenty. And we have dessert as well. We have pies and cookies.
I'm going to say one more thing.
Okay. And actually, Melissa would like to say one more thing.
Can't get rid of me that easy. So,
don't want to.
yeah. So, just because last year Clay got wind of this publisher who was doing interviews about Seattle stories, and he recommended that they interview my mom. And they came and interviewed my mom at her apartment. And about a week after my mom died, her phone rang. And I called them back and, picked up this message and called them back. And the book was being published. And the book has been published. And if you care to read a very interesting article, it's a 4-page interview with my mother on the museum and how it came about. The interviewer did a spectacular job on capturing the way my mother spoke and her humor and the way she went off on random tangents and still would come back, and the way she talked with her hands. And it's actually very, very good, and it's 4 pages with just my mom, and I think it's about the only thing about West Seattle in the entire book, and the book is called Ghosts of Seattle's Past. And it's excellent.
That's awesome.
And it came out like 2 weeks after my mother died.
Wow. So that this year.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you.
I just forgot about it.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
have no idea. I have
So Ghosts of Seattle's Past, what's the publishers?
Ghosts, I don't know, but I have a copy of it.
Okay.
But it's
well,
called Ghosts of Seattle's Past.
all right. Well, we're going to need a copy here for our library at the log house. Well, thank you, Melissa. That's great.
Oh, is it drawing now?
All right, here we go. Last
One more
tickets.
ticket sale. Any more ticket sales in the back?
Did everybody get chicken? Yeah? Everybody like the chicken? Yeah. I think we should keep this going every year. Chicken's
Yeah.
Safeway gives us a discount.
Yep, Safeway even gives us a discount because they love us here. Are we, wait, do we have it? Are we, everybody's got their tickets? Everybody's holding out their tickets? Raffle tickets? All right, we're going to draw. So, here, you want to do the drawing? You want to shake? Okay. Here we go. This is it, the lucky winner. All right. Drum roll, please, Gary. Thank you. And the number is 863-940. Yes, we've got a winner. Has 2 tickets to our gala, November 4th. It's a good thing you now know the date that it is.
Come up and get a picture.
All right, so we'll have you come up and take a picture. So we'll never remember your face.
You did pretty well.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we can do this later. Yep. You want to get her name and then we can. Ann Wise? All right.
It's musical chairs today. That's right. And mine goes with me.
Well, wonderful. Congratulations, Ann Wise. Look forward to seeing you at our gala this year. And I look forward to seeing all of you at our annual gala this year. And thank you very much. So now I would just like to thank you all for coming again today to our 4th of July. Please eat some more food. We're going to be closing around 3 p.m. and we could always use help cleaning up post-end. But thank you all for coming. And I would like to once again thank the West Seattle Community Orchestras Brass Sextet for performing. And they will continue to provide music for us for the rest of the afternoon. So thank you very much all for coming.
Hey.
Okay, nobody takes it over.
Yeah.